Howdy, lieutenants and economists.
The most volatile, evil, disgusting things on the planet, humans. If you have a video request, you can always go to assholeconsulting.com.
Yeah, I am gonna charge you, kids. And that is the importance of not fucking up.
You are such an asshole!
Hello everyone, Cappy here. This is a video request, and if you have any kind of consultation request or need advice, and it doesn't have to be a video, you can go to assholeconsulting.com, and we'll put you on the right path with blunt, direct, ass-holy truth. How do you spell ass-holy as in like religiously holy? Should be. Truth should be holy. But now you people want to be lied to. Now my clients, they get product or progress. They get results. Hey asshole, I have returned again for yet more advice. Repeat customer. I'm curious to know what your current retirement investments look like. If you had an employer that does 401k matching, I know you said in your book that you should match up to your employer's maximum contribution. Correct. That is because all the risks that we do talk about of confiscation or resyndication or the rescinding of tax benefits in your 401ks and IRAs, or actually just your 401ks and 403bs, where there is a match where your employer will match it. You should do that no matter what because that's free money. So that is true. Would you spend a penny more on additional Roth IRA contributions or non-matched 401k? For reference, I make $75,000 a year and have no debt. I would conservatively put my spending at a maximum of $30,000 per year, leaving me with quite a bit left over after tax to jack up my retirement fund contributions or look to other investments. I moved out of California, so I no longer have state income tax. Good man. After reading and watching a lot of your material, I too don't really trust the government, so I guess the next best thing to do is see what an asshole such as yourself does and go from there. Given extra cash, I will probably learn to fly or something this year. I am open to the whole buying guns and silver idea, but what if I get robbed? I want full control over my retirement money, and I don't want there to be any chance I get fucked by the government and some other entity. P.S. I got the credit card, as you said, best idea. However, I still kept the debit card for whenever I go to college. Ah, man, those debit cards could be hacked and all that money be taken off. All right, well, let's kind of do a top-down thing here. There is what I personally invest in. I have no problems telling you what I do, retirement planning. But what works for me is not going to work for anybody else. So I'll tell you what I do, but then I'm going to give some general things like a hierarchy or a structure, do this first, do this second, da-da-da-da-da-da. And it can change because the market can change. So it's a very fluid situation. So what do I invest in? I invest in debt. You say, what do you mean? You buy bonds? No, I pay off my debt. Right? You say, I thought you were a minimalist. Yeah, I still got a mortgage. And right now, if you look at interest rates that are risk-free, of which there technically is no such thing, your risk-free investments like your CDs, your government treasuries are all paying a whippity-ding 2% or less. You're lucky to get 2% in your savings account. So, and so you throw it in there. It's presumably backed by the FDIC, unless you're in Australia where they're tendering legislation to start taxing deposits. But assuming that is risk-free, well, I got a better risk-free investment, and that's paying off your debts, because there is no risk. You're the one that owes the other person or other company the money. So when you're paying it off, there's no risk that counterparty won't return your fund. You're saving money. On top of it, you get to pay taxes on interest income unless it's a municipal bond or something or some other kind of tax-free investment. So you're not even getting 2%. You're getting your 1.5, your 1.3% rate of return. If you have a 4% interest rate on a mortgage and you pay that down, that's a full 4% that you save. You didn't get a rate of return, but you did save. And it's completely risk-free because the counterparty risk is on the other side, not you. You're the risk. You are the risk that you won't pay them back. So credit cards, absolutely pay that off. Car loans, you shouldn't have a car loan. But if you do, pay it off and don't ever buy a car with a loan again. Student loans, pay it off. Any debt that has an interest rate that is above inflation, which is most of them, pay them off. So that's what I do. Now, when it comes to like 401ks and 403bs and 457s, and I know this is going to be boring, but we have to be specific and precise. Those are where your employer, those are employer-sponsored programs. So you have an employer, and they offer you this retirement plan, and they have the matching. Now, that is another thing I would do, because that is free money. And I do believe, I mean, it could always be confiscated later on. I understand that. But that free money right there, absolutely, you'd want to take advantage of that. So beyond those things, like if you don't have an employer, then you got to go Roth IRA or traditional IRA. You're self-employed, you have to do a SEP IRA or something. There is no match. So, but beyond those two things, those two very obvious things, paying off debts and contributing to a matched retirement employer-sponsored retirement plan, there's not a lot I like. Not a lot at all. What I have been doing, again, me specifically, I've slowly started to accrue my $4,000 position, which I'm now switching to a 200-ounce silver position because the price of silver and gold will go up and down. So I recommend every individual have about 200 pieces of silver. I have bought guns, I have bought armor, and I have bought any kind of, I know this is going to sound conspiratorial, I've bought all my supplies I need for bug out. And what else? It's things that cannot lose value. These are things that are not going to lose value or be confiscated. The other reason that I do not invest in an IRA or a 401k, it doesn't even have anything to do with money, but it has to do that I think the stock markets are overvalued. If you look at interest rates, everyone looks, oh, capital gains, prices go up, I make money, I'm a dumb American, HRA, say go invest in 401k, okay. I unfortunately kind of paid attention in school and the real world. I give a corporation, well, I don't give a corporation, I buy shares of stock from somebody, could be a corporation or a people, and that entitles me to not earnings but the dividend that company pays out. There is no capital gains. I've made a post called There Is No Such Thing as Capital Gains. So what is the rate of return relative to stock price, what I can expect in dividend checks? It's less than 2%. Well, maybe it's 2%. I want to say it's 1.8, but it's like 1.8 to 2%. Well, that's no different than your savings account plus a ton of extra risk. Now, I know I'm ignoring capital gains, but right now, if you look at the stock market with the trillions of dollars that's flooded into it by the baby boomer and Gen X generation and 401k retirement money, and now add to that quantitative easy money that comes in through government, the Fed, buying all the crappy securities off of financial institutions' balance sheet, and then these financial institutions sell their worthless mortgages and whatever crap. It's the Fed. They taketh away the sin of the banking community. Give us your shitty securities. Oh, Janet, the yelling of the Fed. Yep. Anyway, so the Fed go and take the crap securities out of the financial system, and then now the financial institution, banks, whatever, they have all this cash. They go and park it over in quality securities, regardless of price, so they can earn whatever marginal amount of interest or dividend income. Well, that drives up the price as well. And then low interest rates have been triggering all these corporations to swap out equity for debt. They do leverage buyout of themselves. They borrow a ton of money and they buy back their shares. It's called leverage buyback, and it increases your risk. It increases, the chance of bankruptcy. Well, those hundreds of billion, maybe approaching $1 trillion, has also flooded the market, driving stock prices way the fuck above what they should have been, and way the fuck what they have been historically. I've done this before. I always use Robert Shiller's Professor, Dr. Robert Shiller. I always wonder what the difference was. You go look up his site. He tracks data for the S&P 500 PE, and if you use that and the dividend yield as a measure or a metric as to whether or not stocks are overvalued or undervalued, historically they're trading almost at twice the value they should be relative to the profits and incomes they generate. And I'll say it again, it's like paying $800 for a PlayStation 4, $7 for a gallon of gas, $10 for a Big Mac, whatever. We can use all the analogies. That's why I don't invest in a 401k or an IRA. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm starting to get to that point where I have bought all the other alternative investments to the point that, and I still have a ways to go on paying off the mortgage, but if you get into that situation where, say, you're renting and you don't have a mortgage, you don't have debt, gosh, what do you invest in? Well, and that's really hard, and I'm not there at that point yet, but if you are, because everybody's situation is different, you got a problem. It's like, do you invest in an overinflated stock market? Now, there are ways to go around it. You're almost compelled now to start looking at things like IRAs, 401ks. And if you are weary that the government is going to confiscate or rescind the tax benefit of your 401ks and IRAs, well, you got a choice between Roth and traditional. Traditional, you can have traditional Roth and, you have traditional IRAs, traditional 401ks, traditional 403bs, stuff like that. Traditional meaning you make a contribution to your retirement plan, you get to write that off of your taxes. So you get that benefit right there that year. And there's nothing the government could do to undo that. Of course, down the road they could say, well, you got to pay extra and we're going to rescind. The real risk is the Roth version of these IRAs and 401ks, where you don't get the tax deduction today, but it in theory grows without future taxation. And that they can always rescind and fuck you up the ass down the road. So, me personally, and this always depends on what your income level is, because after a while it's phased out, and then, yes, if there's a match, we got that. Beyond that, I don't know. And you've paid off your house, you've gone to school for training and trades that and there's nothing else to do but invest in that, then I would go traditional, and it even depends on your age. This is not the one-all be-all. This is just me. I go traditional, so I get that guaranteed tax benefit. And then what assets I would invest in, you got me. I'd be looking at high dividend quality mutual funds, if that exists. I'd be looking at dividends and earnings. That's what I would be doing. I wouldn't look at capital gains. Now, yeah, sure, you diversify. It makes it, I'd probably throw a little bit into aggressive growth. I'd probably throw a little bit in some international stocks in countries that seem to have more growth potential and more capitalism than the United States. But again, it really depends on you. I'd be maybe looking at real estate investment trusts. You can invest in mutual funds or ETFs or real estate investment trusts that specialize in property. And that's one thing I would take back. I think even before I'd invest in an IRA or 401k, I would buy property overseas somewhere, just a piece of land, so that if I need a place to stay, and certain benefits like staying and residency and visa benefits come if you actually own property in different countries, I'd be looking at like New Zealand, I don't know what else, Australia maybe, but they're not. It depends, because it could be 30 years and they change it. Oh, the government has all it takes is the Australian government and the United States government to get a treaty together. Oh yeah, you can't come here. We're confiscating your property. So it's really a minefield that you're walking into, because there's so many variables you can't predict it. At least I'm honest. I can't claim to predict it. So anyway, that's what I would do. That's what Aaron Clarey's retirement plan looks like. Right now, I don't want to have a ton of money. It's just pay off that mortgage. That's it. And if I were to ever work for an employer, I doubt it would ever happen. But if I were to ever work for an employer and they had a match, okay, then I contribute to that. But otherwise, yeah, the last thing, unless, in other words, I have taken care of all my other bases. I have the silver. I have as many guns as I need. I have everything is taken care of. Then I would start looking at IRAs and 401ks. And me personally, I'd probably go with a traditional IRA or traditional 401k. But if you have faith the government ain't going to tax you, or you just don't think you're going to make that much money, yeah, Roth IRA. Especially if you're younger, you got the mathematics of compound interest working for you there. But again, realize you're investing all that money, those trillions of dollars of retirement dollars, and quantitative easing, and not to mention all the other central banks in Europe have flooded the world economy with their own money. But prices are just out of whack. They're just out of whack. I don't want to pay $800 for a PlayStation. I really don't. So, in general, in short, take care of your personal finances first. Get rid of your debts. Get rid of that. No one. You cannot screw up that. No one's ever gotten in financial trouble paying off the debts early. Nobody. Going forward, it's going to be a fluid and changing. I mean, guarantee a week from now it could be different for me. But that's why I do. Focus at home, get some really good training, maybe go back to college or trade school for a skill or a trade that you can use later on down the road. But yeah, there are a lot of risks involved with your 401ks, your IRAs, and investing in the old stock market. Best of luck. Toodles.